Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. The Outer Realm is fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, whom have been with us from the very beginning, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, Folgers. We would also like to thank Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of time and music for our new intro and outro. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found pretty much on any music platform. And tonight, we welcome back Lesley Mitchell-Clarke to the show, and she's going to be discussing past lives and reincarnation. So hang tight for that. That's going to be awesome.
Love it.
To participate, however, in the show, you'll have to hit up one of our 8 platforms, which tonight platforms are Twitch on UFO Paranormal Radio, Facebook, Outer Realm with myself and Amelia Pisano, News on the Flip Side, Canada's Most Haunted, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, of course, UFO Paranormal Radio and United Public Radio, and switched it up a little bit tonight. We're going to be on YouTube, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, and UFO Paranormal Radio, which, by the way, is now open, not just to subscribe to, but you can now become a member. So get on over there, get yourself a membership, because this is the only place you're going to be able to find shows like The Gray Zone Uncensored, and everybody on the network is going to be adding their own contributions, and you're going to start being able to get access to some of the older shows as well, which are not going to be available just through the mainstream podcast sites, etc. So with that being said, we're ready to start, and we've got people in the chat.
Look at that. Yeah.
Zach Man, hello. Jessica Pisano, hello. Lisa Savoy, hello. Jennifer Lee Spangler, that's a long one. But
there's one more after that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Celebrate, you betcha.
Anything for you, Jojo.
Exactly. So, yoo-hoo. I know.
Oh, Adrian. Hi.
Yeah.
If you are listening right now on our YouTube channel, just click like and subscribe, please. You won't receive notifications like crazy unless you ask for them, but it does help our show.
Right.
How are you?
Exactly. I'm good. Been that kind of a crazy day because, of course, like snowstorms and stuff like that just seems to really love our area. So we're getting smacked again for a couple of days. So
yeah, we just got it now. The roads are covered.
Ah, good times. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I'm okay, because I have, the studio at home here, which is good. And I don't have to venture out for a couple of days, which is nice. So I don't mind it. I really do love to hunker down. There's nothing like hunkering down in a good storm in a haunted house.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yes.
With some great Folgers coffee.
Right.
With some great Folgers coffee. Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's great watching the storm from the inside, not necessarily outside. This is one of those days that just reaffirms the beauty of leaving a radio station.
Oh yeah. This is good.
That was hell for me.
Don't miss the studio days. No.
I don't miss the drive in the snow. Niagara Way is not, it's like a snow belt. It's not fun to drive.
And here Jennifer's bragging Not much of that in Myrtle Beach. Well, Jennifer.
Yeah, whatever.
I know. We're just jealous. Don't mind
I
us.
miss the beach. I do miss the beach.
I know.
I have said that. Hi, Wayne.
Hi,
Yeah,
Tamara.
I miss the beach. Oh my gosh, do I ever?
Snowstorms. What are those? Okay, Zach. Thank you.
I like the snow. I'm one of those weird Canadians that loves the 4 seasons. I love having 4 seasons. I love everything about them. I love the fashion. Besides the weather, I love how the energy in our field changes from winter to spring to summer, and fall creeps in. You know, it's just it's a little bit more noticeable here. And when I'm shoveling my snow, Zach, if I shovel, because I have a husband, so he does that. But anyways, if I'm helping out or doing the veranda or whatever, you know what's in my mind, Zach? Zach, can you hear me, Zach? Is no spiders, no alligators, no earthquakes. That's what's in my head as I'm shoveling, because it's only 2 months.
Poor Jennifer has
it's
to
only 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have tornadoes, but we don't have hurricanes.
Right.
But yeah, no tsunamis because we're inland.
Right.
Just saying.
Oh, I know. It's good times. It's good times. Man,
I'm kidding. I do love the beach, but I do love the break in the seasons. It's just me. I like the change.
Yes.
Yeah. I got a fan on, so if you see me
eating your hair,
eating my hair and constantly touching my face, it's because of that.
It is. It just, you have these tiny little wispy hairs that like, I can relate to that. I'm always like,
seriously. And if you don't have a fan on with the lighting, you just die. So
yeah, honestly, I don't suffer too much from that right now. So it's quite the opposite. And in the house here, it does have really large, 3-foot thick walls. But when it gets cold out, it really seems to absorb it. It's like,
oh yeah,
you feel it. You really do. So
you got it, did you, Zach?
I know. I
like making snow angels.
I'm good without that. No. We're going to be bringing our guest on in a few minutes. So I don't know if you want to read goodbye already.
I wanted to just quickly make mention, if it's okay. Do we still have time?
No.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So we discuss a little bit, not often, about missing children here, because it's really hard to discuss it and not use an example. And I am very much bound by confidentiality when I'm working missing children, even if it's a public case. So I just want to put it out there, because I have been approached in the past, and just recently this last week. And I don't mind helping. There are 2 requirements I have. Family, it's got to be parental or guardian permission, and I need a police report. If you cannot provide those 2, I need a direct contact. So contact, sorry. If I can't have those 3, please don't approach me. I don't, it's just, it's so wrong in so many ways. You need family permission because, and I'll explain it really quickly, because you don't know who's looking for that child and you don't know why. So that's the reason for family permission. The police report is to actually prove that that child is missing. Okay. I need all of that information, or I can't help. It's not about getting credit for a missing child, because if you're thinking that, then you're in this for the wrong reason. I do, and Michelle can attest, I do my work anonymously. I don't come forward at all. I always work through another person. But if you're bringing me a case, as I said, I'll be more than happy to help you.
Right.
But I need those 3 requirements. It just doesn't work any other way. You will not be taken seriously by law enforcement. You cannot just pick up someone who's missing from a Facebook post. Those posts can be old. People often just share posts without reading the dates on them or checking to see if that child is still missing. Keep that in mind when you're sharing a post, because you could be reopening a wound for a family that has just, received closure. So as much as you want to help, it does require a little bit of your time. And with that said, I'm more than happy to help anybody. You can contact me on my website, ameliapisano.com. Please don't DM me on social media. I don't take that seriously. It needs to come in an email form, because that's also a legality. It's a legal way of approaching me. You cannot work that way with mediums. You're going to do more harm than good. That's it. That's my rant for today. It's just because people think that I don't want to help them because I won't be getting the credit if I don't get that information. It's got nothing to do with that.
Right.
My God, I didn't get credit for the last 7 years.
Right.
Really? So thank you.
All right. Bio. There we go. Oh, and I will just add that if I had a person in my family who was missing, and if I had a missing child, there is nobody else on the planet other than Amelia that I would want to have to do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%. I know how you
I wish I could save them all. I wish I could just line up those faces and just bring them all in. I'm going to cry just talking about it. It's just something that I take so passionately. I've had this experience from my own family, and it didn't turn out well. So I know what that looks like, not feels like. I know what that looks like from both sides of the coin. I take it very seriously. The big one here is knowing who is looking for that child, because you will not believe how many parents who don't have custody will reach out to psychic that they know can get it to find their child, and all of a sudden you become a part of a crime. So think about that.
All right.
Okay, now on a lighter
now
note,
for real.
I am so excited for tonight's show. She is Toronto-based clinical hypnotherapist, specializes in a number of modalities as well as metaphysical therapies, such as past life and later life regression. I need to ask what that is, because that's interesting. Later life regression at Lesley Toronto Hypnosis Clinic, our own Canadian and Lightwork Hypnosis. Please welcome back Lesley Mitchell-Clarke to the show.
We're just waiting for her to come on in. So
forgive my voice.
And hello, Tina. Yes. Another Canadian. I know. Every now and then they start to surface, which is great. I don't always.
We do have them.
When I'm actually scheduling people, I don't really, look at exactly off the bat who's coming from where, but we've got a really good lineup coming up throughout the next, well, it's always a good lineup, but interesting lineup coming up over the next
it was in her bio.
weeks.
I forgot about that too.
I
was
know.
Just so excited because reincarnation and past life, following up the shows that we had last week, is very, very interesting. Now, Michelle, it's strategic how she places these guests. don't think it's not. And I love this. I love that it's coming off of, the excitement that we had.
Right.
Discussing tricks and things like that. So
it is. And we're ready to bring Lesley on.
Yay.
Drum roll. There we go. Yay.
Hello,
Leslie.
How are you?
There she is.
How are you goddesses?
It's freaking freezing.
I know. I'm wearing the traditional Canadian headgear.
Yes.
Plus,
you guys must be getting the snow. Like, are you getting the snow right now in Toronto?
Right. Another huge, shall I say, dump this moment going on.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've had it pretty intense. So, but this isn't going to be too bad. It's going to be about 10 centimeters. That's not too bad, and maybe
25
tomorrow.
for Niagara.
Yeah.
But Niagara's got its own time zone, Michelle. Like, you guys are in a different time zone altogether. Seriously,
apparently.
The weather zone, not time zone, weather zone.
Apparently.
I'm like,
at least I'm not in Fort Erie. That's a whole other planet out there.
That's another dimension, Fort Erie. That's a very strange. Is a very strange little burg. It really is. Pardon me for saying so, but
no, it's
I think
true. You could
there
be driving in it, and you could come out. It's like coming out of a vortex, and
it's it's
beautiful, sunny.
Yeah.
How that happened.
And in the summer, it's pouring rain there, and you drive out to this dry, stiff heat. It's like, what
That's
the
crazy.
hell? Yeah,
I know.
It's strange. Well, there are lots and lots of soldiers buried there, both British and American. It saw a tremendous amount of action in the in the war,
1812.
and so in the War of 1812. It's not unlike in Toronto. We have the fairgrounds from the Pan American exhibition. They're very old, uh,
Yes.
and but right down the midway where they have all the games and all the stuff is going on. I've always been creeped out there. Creepy atmosphere. I don't like it. But I found
Right.
out later that it is, in fact, that whole area is one of the top places for sightings, and the whole Midway is a
Wow.
giant burial pit of
Mm-mm.
The whole
unknown.
Midway?
The whole Midway, British and American soldiers.
Just a mass grave.
Mass
Mm.
grave,
And we
mass
go
grave.
there for 2 weeks every summer and party on it.
hmm
Okay, I have a whole
Whole
wow.
nother, whole nother
I
view
never
of it. I know.
I'm not gonna lie, and I pray to God, CNE, no one from there is listening. Don't take this personally. I've never liked the CNA grounds. I've
Mhm.
had to work in the food building before for the company I worked for, but now it makes sense.
Well, being
Oh, it's a
intuitive.
very active haunt, not just residual haunts. Of course, there's plenty of that, like at Gettysburg,
Right.
where you're seeing.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No, it's storming.
You know,
I mean,
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you there,
you're
girls?
back.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally
But they're
froze on
also
us. We're
it's also
like,
active haunts. I know.
right.
Well,
Okay.
there we
Wow.
go.
Well, hopefully we won't lose you because you keep freezing. So I'm thinking, oh, don't let the internet go down now for you. So
No, well, it should be
um,
pretty okay. I'm sitting right next to the Family Hub 3000. The new modem I bought, which is just as effed as the old modem. So what are you
no,
Right?
gonna
isn't it
do?
great?
I did
I
the
don't
same
notice
thing.
any difference.
No, I went up like mega. I don't know how many. I don't even want to talk about how much it cost me. And I'm like, Michelle, am I okay? You're frozen. Really?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
plug right into the computer. I don't even go Wi-Fi anymore. I'm so tired of
No.
it. This house has walls that are 3 feet thick. I'm just like, I'm not going to attempt a Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That would
Well,
just be ridiculous of me.
that's part of my problem. Our house is quite old, well over 100
Yeah.
years old, and it's
Yes.
a
Yes, me
brick
too.
Yeah.
house.
Yes,
So
yes.
I want what you're on. And of course, she freezes right there.
I know. We're right in the middle of fun. Oh, wait
you
for
girls
her
are
to come back. There she is.
I'm back. I didn't go. I saw you girls bleep out there for a minute.
Oh, we
Yeah.
just saw you completely freeze.
Well, all three of us are
Minute ago.
literally in a triangle of a snowstorm right now. So,
It's true. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, there may be some aspects of that. You know, it's pretty wet and nasty out there. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see you guys, though. It's a delight to be here and
Thank
celebrating
you. It's always nice to have you join us.
on
And
February 9th.
Oh,
you really
I'm an
losing me.
Aquarius. You probably. Ah!
Oh,
I know it keeps freezing.
you keep freezing. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping that we're not going to lose you somewhere along the line. We're always delighted when you join us, and we thank you for joining us again. You're just a wealth of information, and I'm hoping that I'm not freezing for you over at your end. But tonight, you're actually going to talk to everyone about past lives and reincarnation.
Oh, you're moving. I saw you blink.
I saw you blink. We know you're with us.
You have to be there because I saw you blink.
I know.
I'm trying to sit still, but I'm blinking.
Oh, yeah. I know. We keep losing you.
Do you want me to log off and log in
You want to
again?
try?
We
Yeah,
can
I
try
will.
that.
Let's
Yeah.
just try.
There's a
Sure,
leg
sure.
Yeah,
too.
let me try that. Let me try
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
that.
She-
Let's
She will be
see.
right back. Hi, Tina. It's raining in Montreal. Oh, I hope
Yes.
we don't get snow after that because there's nothing like the temperatures dropping when it's raining here in Canada.
No, it's brutal. It's
Yeah.
brutal. Bradley
Yeah.
says you can keep the snow. Well,
Wow,
you
I
know
didn't
what?
know that about the CNE.
Yeah, we get that. We get that for sure. No, I can't complain. But you know what was strange today? I saw robins. Robins only come in the spring, and these
Yeah.
poor little things are thin and they're going to die. There's nothing for them to eat
Where did you
in
see them?
They were just here in the falls.
No, but like close to home where you could put food, or no?
No storage.
Yeah, see, it's hard too, because if you put food out for birds like robins, they will rely on that, and you have to
But
be
they
diligent
eat.
and be there all the time.
It's not like they eat seed.
Oh,
They eat bugs. They eat worms. They
I
might
don't
eat
know
like
much
dog
about
food, things
birds.
like that.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I only see cardinals. That's it.
yeah, but they're winter birds. Like we just don't have those. I mean, it's terrible to see robins at
Poor
this time of year.
babies.
They're thin and they're just not going to survive if we get a cold snap. That's for darn sure.
Yeah,
So,
Samara feeds birds all year round.
yes, I used to at the other house because we had like, an acre and a half, over an acre and a half. So we had feeders everywhere and we never had bugs, which was good.
We have a lot of owls here.
A lot of owls here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Burlington house had them here. Not so much here, but and then you get one. I'm hoping she's not having any difficulty logging back in. Why don't we just sort of keep to the topic?
Yeah, I'm just really, really sorry, just in shock that she said the CNE, because it just makes total sense. I was
really
always
haunted.
afraid to walk to my car.
There she goes. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna try this
Yay.
again.
Let's try it again.
Yep.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
It
We're gonna
seems to
try
be
it
working,
again.
so we're gonna let you talk.
Yeah, we're just gonna let you go, and this way here we'll get as much topic out as we can. So we're talking about past lives and we're talking about reincarnation. So of course, being a hypnotherapist, you've been doing this for a long time, because I know we've touched on it with near-death experiences when we've spoken last. And you'll be, just so y'all know, Leslie's coming back on again this summer for other cool stuff. Can't just give it all away right now, but
no, we need her 3 times to 4 times a year.
I know, right? It's kind of like a little sisterhood.
Oh,
Yep.
that's so cool. The power of 3, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you wait when this crap is all over. We'll get together.
Of course.
Okay, we will. Well, yes, I've been in answer to your question, I've been working in what we call metaphysical hypnosis, which is a sort of a 3-pronged thing. The way that it's taught, it involves past life regression, interlife regression, and what we also call energy release or entity release. And I don't do too much of that. It's more of a I think of it as more of a metaphor, but what I work in rather extensively is past life regression and interlife regression.
So can you explain interlife regression? Because people know past life, just for those listening. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, from my point of view, it is one of the most fascinating and powerful experiences and tools that we can use to focus on our purpose here in this particular physical life. So what the interlife refers to, it's a Michael Newton term. He's the father of this type of exploration. It refers to that place where we go when we leave our physical bodies. And I mean, you could interpret it as a heaven or another dimensional realm, or, however you wish to think of it. I don't believe it's the highest spiritual realms that there are, but it is certainly where we are greeted and there's no pain, and it's, love and a beautiful, beautiful experience. So that is where we are in between lives. And Michael Newton discovered in his explorations, and no one really realized this before, but human beings or beings have, I think it's about 8 or 10 common experiences when they leave their physical bodies. They're greeted by loved ones. They go have like a social time. They go to the past lives pavilion. I'm not sure they have a review of lifetimes. And now not everybody always recalls all of those things when we do this work. But what always is recalled, in my experience, the thing that always is talked about is meeting with the counsel, or your counsel, rather your personal counsel. And this isn't some type of a punitive or uh, how should I put it? It's the opposite of that. It's a loving gathering of beings who have been watching after you and care about you, and they help you understand what happened in the most recent life, and maybe why it happened, and some insights there. And then also it's the place where you plan your next physical lifetime, if in fact you do want to come back, because
Oh.
it's a universe of free will. And I know there are some very creative and very interesting theories that have been put across of recent about how there's a certain variety of
Mm.
gray ETs that are keeping us in an endless loop of reincarnation. I have never seen any kind of evidence to that
Mhm.
effect. So these commonalities of experiences happen. And one of the interesting thing, I think the most powerful thing about the interlife experience is we get tremendous insight into the conditions that we were born into. In other words, the family unit, the group of people that would surround our upbringing, the conditions, the location, the
Mhm.
parents, even, of course, siblings. So when we understand that we actually made choices, and maybe one's father was little more than a sperm donor, in the course of one's life, but yet perhaps there was something about that DNA that you needed for your life's work or whatever.
Mhm.
So that was part of the package. So instead of whining, this is great talk from a therapist, but instead of complaining and victimize, just wallowing in victimhood about the circumstances of our childhood,
Mhm.
imagine if everybody understood, well, I selected this for my own growth. I can't blame these people. They are what they are.
Mm.
Maybe their IQs are 100 points lower than mine, but I chose them for some reason. So
Right.
that's I'm
Little
sure
tag-alongs. Yeah.
I know we've all known
Yeah.
people, haven't you, in your life, and you look at them, and maybe this person is creative and fabulous, and you look at them and they're like in a family of accountants or something, and you think,
Right.
how did this happen? But we are in charge to a large degree
Right.
of our plan, so to speak. and
Right.
and that's really what the interlife experience is about. It's quite detailed, and it is a really wonderful thing to do if someone is well, for everybody, but particularly if you're in a transition of some sort,
Mhm.
and maybe have lost your way, or you're out of touch with, what you need or what your talents are. And that's
Mhm.
really what all past life regression is about. It's about informing your success, or instigating your happiness and success in this current life, which is the most important one, the one that's happening right now.
Right. Which would make sense, especially if you have a situation, I guess much like what Edgar Casey used to do, just in a different way, because he wasn't necessarily regressing people. I think he was just reading on them. But I
Yes.
guess if you're having, for example, a fear of water, it would
Mhm.
allow you to go in and figure out why do you have this fear of water,
Or
and
bridges
Sometimes
over
we do
water.
that. That's right. Oh,
yeah,
well,
no,
sometimes when people come to me with a phobia,
right,
there is no clear and present evidence of why or when it is occurring
mm,
in this particular life. And
right,
that's true sometimes with chronic physical conditions too, pain
mm,
things. Sometimes people come in with unusual scars that
mm-hmm,
have no so it's possible for the etheric body, I think, to be
mm-hmm,
traumatized and affected by the things that happen. And because all of this information is carried in the spirit, it informs our
mm-hmm,
the physical self. I remember once, and this was quite some time ago, kind of towards probably about 20 years ago, but there was lovely little old lady that came to me, and I
Mm.
was working in a pretty tough neighborhood of Toronto that is, but it's primarily Southeast Asian. That's not why it's tough. It's just that was mostly the clientele that we had there.
Mhm.
So this lovely Indian lady had treatment-resistant fibromyalgia. I mean, the
Mm.
woman was in so much pain, and the doctors
Mm.
had tried everything. It didn't respond to, opioids, it didn't respond to anti-inflammatories, it didn't respond to anything.
Mhm.
Um, so I actually had the idea. I asked her if she would be okay if we tried it. And being a person from that part of the world, she had absolutely no problem with that because that is part of her belief system.
Mhm.
So we did. She went into trance very easily, and in that particular instance, I asked, or requested that we go right to the lifetime that is affecting her now with this terrible syndrome. So
Mhm.
we went way back. I think it might have been to some time in the Middle Ages, and she was a not just a servant, but like what they would call an untouchable, someone that
Mhm.
you didn't even look at. That kind of
Wow.
low level servant with the Indian caste system in from centuries ago. So
Wow.
her job, or one of her horrible jobs, was she had to pump go to a physical water pump and pump water for the rich family in the mansion
Mm.
all day long.
Oh,
And
wow.
she just wore her body out. And the pain that she was experiencing now is the pain that she brought with her from that
Mm.
really tough life of physical labor until she just worked herself to death.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's
and
horrible.
once that
Mm.
was released, I mean, there was huge relief. Now she was a little old lady who probably had some arthritis and this and that, but I mean, the pain was gone. I'm going to say like 80%
Mm.
gone.
That's
So
huge.
Wow.
it was in fact miraculous, and nobody would, the doctor didn't accept it. Nobody would accept that that would be what would happen. There's an example of carrying a trauma, a physical trauma, and this
Mhm.
was not just a most recent life. This would have been from some time ago. So why it was resonating now, I don't know. That would have to do with her journey and her plan, and who the people in her family were, and did
Mhm.
they was one of them the grand, poobah of the house. I don't know. So, but
Wow.
there you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah.
Not unusual
that's
for something
amazing.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's crazy. That's like, I mean, to think that something could creep in just from, such a long time ago. But I
Yes,
guess it is, could that be like similar to like a DNA imprinting or like a lineage thing? Like, could you
I
suffer
think
from that sort of
so.
thing too? Yeah.
I do. I first of all, I think that probably we have a lot of what could maybe be called
Ancestral.
sympathetic DNA that isn't maybe even visible. That there are
Right.
more strands than the 23 in me, and
Mm.
I think that experiences can be contained
Hmm.
in DNA sometimes, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
particularly apparently a physical trauma
Hmm.
can resonate. I mean, whether that information is in our soul and it's external to us, or whether it is in fact in some type of etheric DNA that is part of our
Mm.
soul structure, who can say? But it certainly happens.
Wow. It's something you don't think about when you think of past lives.
Mhm.
I think most people can agree that you think of past lives. It's something that you just want to go back and what was I? Was I a king? Was I a queen? Was it, everybody wants something glamorous, but you don't think
Yeah.
of things like that. I had found out because I used to get terrible headaches,
Mm.
and I mean I wasn't regressed at all, but a medium had picked up that no, you in one life you got stabbed in the back of the head. And that's where my pain always was.
Mhm.
I was like, what a horrible thing to have happen to me.
Wow.
I
Well,
was
yeah.
not impressed. but
I mean, terrible things happen to people. Spears and I mean, swords. I had a guy,
especially that far back, right? It's not
terrible
like they died of
things.
natural causes back then.
No, no,
yeah,
no, no. But yes, certainly a sensitive, a medium can look into the Akashic records
yeah.
and sense, past lives.
It was just
I
out of the blue. She
Yeah,
saw me
it
on a
was.
tour and just went, "Oh, I see this," and I was just like, because I
Well,
said, "Oh,
you
I have a
had.
headache," and she goes, "That's because blah blah blah." I was just like, "Thanks."
Be crazier if you had an indentation there. That
Um,
would be like
Well,
crazy town.
you
Yeah,
might.
because
I
I've
mean,
heard of that.
sure, you might, but you needed to hear that right then because you were having
I
a headache.
guess.
Why were you manifesting the headache at that time? No one knows. But sooner or later, we have to deal
Yeah.
with everything. Sooner or later, we have to deal with everything, and it pops up. And that's just my theory. It just pops up, and it will manifest if we don't deal with it.
It's frightening when you think about how many lives some people have had. Just how
I
much has to
know.
manifest. That
I
could be
know.
that could be
Sorry.
frightening here. Okay, I'm
Well,
just gonna put up there.
Yeah,
people come in. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
I
just
was
putting up
just
comments as they come up for you.
okay. I was just saying that I think that people can come in for all kinds of different purposes too. Sometimes they come in as an unselfish act. They
Hmm.
come in as somebody with a disability so that someone else learns compassion. So there are all kinds of ways that people grow spiritually, and all kinds of reasons why they come in. But I have heard a lot of people say lately, I think this is my last time around. I've had it.
Oh,
We all say that because we're
we're all
tired. But
hoping for it.
I,
We're all like, "Where's the exit door?"
I know,
oh
but what are the
man.
chances of that? Just because you say it and you want it, does it mean that's how it's going to be?
No,
Like,
it
can
could
other
be that
people
you.
bring you back?
Well, I think it is. Although we do have free will, I think sometimes people can be convinced to come back. For instance, well, in my own, this is not maybe the best example, but in my own life, I clearly recall in going through this learning the interlife process. Excuse me. I clearly recall that I was very lukewarm about coming in again.
No,
I
lukewarm.
was very lukewarm about it. But my brother and my sister, who I adore, my brother's now passed, but we were extremely close, and they really wanted to come in, and they
Mhm.
really wanted the parents, because they were both musicians. They want all this musical stuff, and this is come on, but they wouldn't go in without me, and I had to be the eldest, because unfortunately the person that was going to be the mother was just my mother was just a bitch on wheels. So, she
Yes.
was just, so I had to, if they were going to do it, I had to come in. And, I always, as we say, I always took the bullet, because my mother would rage at somebody and I wouldn't let her rage at them. So whatever it was,
Right.
I took it. So that was the agreement. But I realized that was the agreement, and I said, okay, so how pissed off can I be?
Mhm.
I agreed to it. I myself had a big career in the music business. I agreed to it. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Right.
Yes,
So
that's
Right.
right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. How do you explain um, a, a s- not a birthmark, but a scar that you only see when you're suntan because it's white and it's
mm,
in the shape of a paw print? Came during, young years, wasn't born with it. Any explanation for that? I've never had anyone I could ask.
Mm.
well, if there's no color there, it's an area where no pigment is being produced.
Yeah.
So that sounds like something that would have to be informed genetically somehow,
Yeah. Weird, right?
and
Shape of a paw print of all things.
I've
Mm.
seen people come in with all kinds of things
Yeah.
that are unusual, and they say, "Look at this." I said, "Oh my God!" It's so. Um, I think anything is possible. And what could
Mm.
the paw print mean? Could it mean that there was a traumatic death at the hands of a wild animal of some sort?
I don't know. I do love dogs, like they're babies. I do.
Well,
love
then
them.
maybe it's the other kind of thing. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe it's sort of a sign about who you are, what you do.
Mm.
Maybe way back there you raised dogs, or you might have had a very intimate relationship with dogs that might
So
be
it's just
very
a little
important.
reminder that
I
dogs
hope
were
so.
prevalent
Mhm.
in your life,
Yeah.
maybe, or our
Yeah.
lives.
And
Um,
will be luck for you and positive for you to be with them.
Wolf or bear totem native. Thanks, Sherry.
uh,
It's good
I
to
like
see you here.
Trisha's comment. We also say we'll never have another kid right after childbirth. We forget it's
That
true.
is so
Every
It's
true.
woman
so
on the
true.
planet has made
I'm
that
never
comment.
doing that again. Oh my
I'm
No.
never
God.
doing this again. And
I
I
mean,
hate my
Forget.
husband.
my idea of natural childbirth is no makeup. That's give
Natural.
me everything else you got. Give me that
I made it to the last window.
Demerol drip.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So
Oh,
here's a question here. Did you want to get this, Amelia?
sure. Thanks,
Okay.
Michelle. Tina says, wow, so interesting. I do believe that anything that is related to health issues is related to past lives. Like you said, it's an imprint from your past life. Do you need to
it,
release in order to
to
heal?
Mm.
I can release a lot of stuff without specifically naming it through just regular mainstream hypnosis. I can literally tell someone, we have all kinds of things we do to simply let go of the trauma. So I wouldn't say that 100% of the time it's necessary to have a past life regression to release cumulative trauma that you're carrying around. But I think it is certainly a lot more fascinating and maybe a much deeper experience if you can do this release through the process of regression. And I know a lot of people ask me, and this is, I'm sure you were going to ask me this in a second. I picked that out of your brain, but a lot of people ask me, how do you know, like, how do we direct ourselves? What lives are supposed to be explored? How do you know where to go? How does this all happen?
Right.
Well, usually when people come to me for a past life regression, it's most often in midlife when they're in transition. That's the most common time that these things will happen. Some people come to me and they have had memories or feelings or impressions of a particular time in history, or little scenarios, or they feel that they knew someone before. So for those people that have actual, attachments to different, I will direct them to, well, direct is the wrong word.
Guide
I will
them.
guide them. Yes, I will guide
Right.
them towards those, towards accessing those lifetimes with which they have those particular attachments. But most of the time, I just put an intention. I just put an intention out to the universe that we travel to the lives that that individual needs to hear about today. And I do my best to take people to at least to 3 lifetimes. I do my best for that, but it depends a bit on how much information, how detailed they are in their recollections, because I just let them talk. And so sometimes someone will spend 45 minutes exploring one life. And I don't generally like to keep people in trance longer than an hour and a half. I think more
yeah,
than
it's a
that,
lot.
it's much too hard for people to integrate back into our third density and get in their car and drive away. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's draining. It's
I
really
can see that.
draining.
Yeah, I
I
can
like
see that.
Adrian.
Pardon me, dear?
No, I like Adrian's question. Can one do a release without knowing the negative cause?
Yes, absolutely one can. As I said, and I do that in mainstream hypnosis all the time, especially I do an awful lot of work with first responders. I'm a consultant for a psychology firm that pretty much has, these dear people, police officers, firemen, EMT, the people that have seen the worst aspects of humanity. And these three souls, they're strong, but they carry a lot of trauma. And so I work on releasing. I have an idea about what the traumas are, but they don't have to name them or relive them for us to release them. Because the subconscious mind knows what the trauma is. And that's all I have to say. And then we go through a release process. I have a lot of different ones depending on, where the individual is, sort of spiritually or emotionally. So yes, we can.
Wow. I'm sending you my ex.
Ouch.
long
You
time
may-
ago, because I've been married a long time, but I think so. It's like 29 years later, but it's funny because I did meet him at the exhibition grounds now that we're talking about the Woodway being haunted.
Isn't that weird?
He used
Isn't
to
that-
walk me. He used to walk me to my car because that was the time when Bernardo was still the Scarborough rapist.
Right.
So our company would be in the food building every year for the X just to promote. And I would go there after work from the office and be there till 11. And he would walk me to my car. And that's how I met him before I got married. But man, oh man, he could do with it.
Isn't that strange? Isn't
Wow.
that strange?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you bring people under, do you find, will they start, when they're tapping into another life and they're just there, do they start speaking in tongues or different languages?
Sometimes they
And
do.
how do you guide them after that?
Yeah,
How do you understand what
exactly.
they're saying?
Well,
Use a translator app?
No, I guess I
Talking to
could,
that.
but it's usually, if it happens, it's just for a little short
Right.
period of time. I do speak Spanish and French pretty
Yeah.
well, but if it's something, but there's a lot of times people have begun speaking languages that sound, antediluvian, that sound like
Right.
some form of Sanskrit, something that I couldn't possibly recognize.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not
fascinating,
gibberish.
isn't it?
I mean, it's constructed language. It's not gibberish, but it's something
No.
with which I am not familiar. So yes, that can absolutely happen. But what's interesting is how often they don't. It seems like communication, spiritual communication, or when you get into these spiritual realms, excuse me, the language manifests in whoever is hearing it. You know what I mean? It just it's like I've had people talk about lives as a primitive person in darkest Africa, and there's no language, anything that they come across with. But there seems to be a sort of a Star Trek universal translator. It seems to work like that.
It's fascinating because some mediums will work that way when they go into trances. I say gibberish because I once had a Christian medium explain to me that she could speak. She goes, to you it would sound like gibberish when I trance, and I could not understand a thing she was saying. She was clearing a home at the time, but she cleared it. I mean, within an hour, and it was like years before they had a problem ever again in this house. So
I thought you meant everyone went running. She cleared the home. Everybody just said,
"No,
we're out of here."
So I mean, no. This gal just got in there and was very. She just came in and started.
That's wild.
She says it'll sound like gibberish, but I'm speaking in tongues, and she tranced out completely. And so I just sat there, and it's like, you don't know how to react. I mean, there's
it's super cool.
Do, but if that does happen, I remember the first time something really out there like that happened in my hypno chair. I was freaked out, and then I just thought, I got to take control here, and I did.
Right.
I just this was a guy who was. I'm not sure about his mental health. I'm not sure that anything genuine was going on, but it certainly freaked me out. And there was some of this, some of this linguistic gymnastics going on, and
Right.
he was writhing around, and he scared the bejesus out of me. And when it was all over, he said, "Well, I just gave birth to a dragon." I said, "Wow,
Ah, all
see you,
right.
see you later."
Wow. And how does one achieve such a feat? I'd like to know
Yeah,
that.
that'd be one
know.
I wouldn't be able to
I
sit for.
know.
Yeah.
Really, that was
Yes.
pretty wild, and with no
I'd be looking
dilation
for
or
I'd be looking for
No,
Jon Snow after that. Be
no
no,
crazy.
kidding. No kidding.
right.
Wow.
Well,
Welcome,
we do
Kyle.
our best to anyone in my profession or in any aspect of therapy, psychotherapy, what we do our best to treat people who do not have severe mental illnesses. It's actually against the
Mhm.
law, so I have to be
Oh,
very careful. And
Yeah.
mhm.
and it's in a way, it's especially important for the mental health to be together with these metaphysical processes. I
Right.
mean, because even if someone has been diagnosed with schizophrenia or a
Mm,
dissociative disorder or borderline personality, if their psychiatrist wants that person to work on a certain thing like sleep issues or certain specific things, I can still work with them with permission of the psychiatrist on certain things, but not a
I've had to
metaphysical
do that
process. Yeah.
with people working with people with alleged attachments. I've had to do that, work with a psychiatrist or psychologist, and
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
want to make sure you're not harming
very,
them.
very carefully. Yeah, very.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
very, very
yeah,
supportive, but they want to make sure everything is done, by the book. Don't let them go off the medication.
right,
Document everything so they may have that documentation as well with behavior and stuff like that. So it is, yeah,
exactly.
it can be
So
hardcore.
we can sometimes help people, and
Mm,
also people who believe that they have attachments, whether they
mhm.
do or not, they
Right.
can
Or they
through
believe it, and
they
there's something
believe it.
that's making them believe it, and
Yeah,
that's where you have to get to the source. So,
exactly.
how do you handle a situation like that?
Um, Frankly, I am that's one of the things that I'm not crazy about doing.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but we have a process for it
Hmm.
in hypnotherapy, which I mentioned, energy release,
Yes.
and it and
Yes.
it and we actually ask the attachment to identify itself. And
Oh,
talk
interesting.
to the attachment, and we find out what it wants,
Hmm.
and then we release it. And again, whether or not there is an
Hmm.
attachment, I've had people talk as the attachment in different voices.
Wow.
Um, judgment is not my department. If it works,
Right.
it
Right.
works. And
Hmm.
Yes.
I always am very, very careful with my space. My space, I sanitize it with
Hmm.
sweetgrass and all kinds of things and kosher salt. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
my treatment area is
Right.
always scrupulous. But sometimes if I'm working on Zoom, I don't really have any control over what the patient or the client's space is like.
No, of
So I don't
course.
always have that. I would probably not do a, an entity release process on Zoom. I have not been asked to, and I probably would
Right.
not.
I wonder if you could put a ring of salt around the computer.
Well, you could, sure, and it would be. I'm not saying it wouldn't be possible for me, even through a remote viewing technique, to
Hmm.
fill that person's space with white light while I'm doing the process, but
Hmm.
it's exhausting.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
It would be exhausting for me to maintain the
Hmm.
the protection and do the hypnotic process.
Yeah, I can imagine. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, what do you do with children who exhibit signs or of, because kids are, as much as they can be teller of tall tales, every now and then you've got this child or
Mm.
even a savant,
Oh yeah.
who are just, that that a savant, you know that's a past life thing. But sometimes kids come in and go, oh, that was my other life, or this was my other mom, and this was,
Oh, they do it.
They're
They do it.
unbelievable, some of those
Um,
stories.
I think, most of them you have to get them when they're 3 or before they're 3 or 4, if
oh,
and
really?
yeah, you have to get them pretty early as soon as they're able to talk, because those
Mm-hmm.
memories will, whatever the grand design was for us being able to focus on one thing at a time, the curtain comes down on the
Right.
life, but even my eldest son, I don't know if I told you this before, but my eldest son, um excuse me a second. What is it, boy? Okay. My eldest son, when he was very, very little, he would often talk about his other family and his other mother, as you just said. And eventually, I had him draw pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and he drew pictures of a family, obviously Asian. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he was obsessed with all things Asian. I mean, this kid wanted to eat very far out Asian food when he was really little. Very
Wow.
unusual for kids, and
That is unusual.
it
Mm-hmm.
is. And one of the things that I believe what happened to him and why he came back so quickly, I believe that he was involved in World War II and he was a Japanese pilot, and
Oh,
the plane crashed, and he told me about that when he was
wow.
about 3, so he came in real fast. But he
Wow.
was in this last life, he was Japanese, and
Wow.
he remembered a lot of it. Not now, so once in a while I ask him, he has absolutely no memory or ideas about that. He still, he still studies all these different martial arts, still loves
Mm-hmm.
Asian food, but the
Right.
memories,
And he
the
hasn't asked
memories
you to help him bring forth the memories, and he's
No,
not
nobody in
curious?
my
No?
family will let me do anything. They're
I know how you
no,
feel.
they won't let me
Right.
do anything. Even my husband, whatever, he'd rather suffer, I think, than have me use hypnosis. I don't know what the deal is, but no, I guess they just don't want to listen to my voice. What can I say? Maybe
Wow.
I've been bitching too much. I don't know.
They wouldn't remember it though.
Right,
They'd only have bits and pieces. It wouldn't be completely.
that's
What
true.
would
And my hypnosis voice is really nice. So they
Oh,
would
I believe it.
they would conk right out. Boy, I've heard some hypnotists, and I hear them, and sometimes at conventions, and I think, man, how does anybody get relaxed listening to a
No.
voice like that? It's like bloody fingernails on the chalkboard. It's
That'd be
horrible.
Oh
hard.
Or
no, no, no.
Yes.
there's a gal. There's a not a very nice gal in Toronto who
Mhm.
believes that she is the foremost regressionist past life person,
Oh
and her
my
accent,
gosh. We never heard of her, so there.
no, you never heard of her. She's got a big long Greek name and a big huge accent, and it's almost impossible to understand what she's saying.
Oh,
So I
goodness.
think, how are you? So yeah, so you're doing this
How do
work,
you that
and
doesn't it's not soothing is what you're saying.
it's the opposite of it, because you would have
Right.
to work to
Mhm.
understand what she was saying.
Right.
So
Oh,
Right.
I don't know. There's some people are not really suited, but they keep on.
maybe
Right.
with her own culture, she has better luck. I don't know.
Maybe
Right.
that's true.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
Now,
yeah.
true.
what would cause or why would a soul want to come back so quick? Like you say, this little one at 3 years old, he came in,
Mhm,
your son, with all of this information, yet here he
mhm.
is. What, is there a prerequisite, or why would you bounce back so quickly
I think it
into
was
another life?
I think it was just a shortened life. He
Right.
was a young pilot, probably 19 years old, shortened life.
Wow.
I don't think it's any great surprise that we have huge population booms after every war. And of
Yes.
course, some of that is due to your returning soldiers and what have you, but not all of
Right.
that is due to it.
Right.
I think that souls who have had their lives ended,
Too
way too
quick.
soon, do tend to come back in quickly. Is in my experience from what I hear. That's all I can.
And I mean, here's another question: just being Japanese or Asian, if they were of a Buddhist belief system, it's all reincarnation too, isn't it? Like they
Yes.
believe heavily in reincarnation and teach it, and so maybe that could have something to do with it from that standpoint. Like, your religious belief system, that's something that you should be. One would think that you would be leaving that behind,
Hmm.
along with a lot of other things coming into the present life and beginning again.
Indeed, we would, yes, we would think that. Well, every religion, every major religion today, I can't comment on Islam because I think it's a little too recent to be related to some of the earlier cultures. It's the most recent of the religions that stem from the Abrahamic, root, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. But, Hinduism, Buddhism, um, uh, Jainism,
Mm-hmm.
all of these early religions, the Egyptian religion, they all
Mm-hmm.
believed in reincarnation. And even this, you might find this interesting, reincarnation was also a belief of the early Christian church. And it was only after the Council of Nicaea where, one day Jesus was a man and the next day he was a god, essentially, is what happened there. A lot of
Right.
cool stuff got, omitted. The early Christian church, the reincarnation beliefs, gone. There was
Mm-hmm.
also a kind of a a marriage service or a commitment service for same-sex couples in the early church. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
I
Well,
know.
Love is love. That's what Christianity used to preach.
Yeah, yeah. And you
mm,
get a bunch of funky old men, greedy, funky old men in there, and everything's turns to you know what, and that's kind of what
right,
happened. Yeah.
right. Here's another question for you, Amelia.
Thank you. Adrian asks, why are people so wrapped up in their ethnic heritage when in reality they probably never repeated that lineage in the next life? I can tell you I've never been Italian, so that's a good point.
That you know
Well,
of. You're just good at being
Not that I
Italian.
know of, but yeah,
Yeah,
I've never.
you're so good at being Italian. It's
I've,
the cooking thing. Yeah.
that's my
indeed.
dad and my mom. I'm Canadian. I was born in Toronto.
Well, that's really an interesting question. I think that people want to belong. We're kind of tribal. We
Mm,
like to be accepted. We're comfortable with our parents and the cuisine. And actually, from what I have heard, it's not unusual for people to say be Italian and more than one lifetime. It depends completely on the individual, but more often than not, we are
mm,
out there getting wide ranges of experience in all ethnicities, in all
mm,
times, and all. So, yeah, why are people so hung up on their DNA? I think they just want a sense of belonging. I
Yeah.
think they
that
do,
makes
and it's
sense.
maybe it's even a first step to introspection. Many
Mm-hmm.
people who will have their DNA done have never thought about facts like, well, am I subject to depression or whatever? Is it a genetic thing?
Yeah.
So I think it may be a first step to self-awareness, and but it is a natural thing for people to want to identify with their own.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
think it's a culture thing. It's not
yeah, we're
just
tribal.
ethnicity. It's
Yeah,
culture. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
we're
culture.
tribal people. It's culture. It's
Yeah.
not just ethnicity. It's
No,
not.
Another
no.
question?
And Tina is asking, thank you, Michelle. Are you familiar with, does that say Kardec? He
Kardec.
explained that the souls needed to reach a certain level in order for them to come back.
Well, I
Excuse me.
think many unevolved souls come in real quick. It's been described to me like, if you almost like people that are in prison all the time, recidivists, people
Mm,
who have determined that they're of a low, people who have determined not to evolve because again, a universe of free will. And look at the diversity of moral and spiritual awareness that we have on this
mm-hmm.
planet. And you can, it's very easy to see that there is a percentage of there is a percentage of people on this planet who have determined not to evolve,
Hmm.
and for whatever reasons. And now, I haven't had an experience of working with anyone like that who has come to me, because these are usually going to be unaware people,
Hmm.
criminals, or, people who have lost their way. But what I've heard is they don't go really to the council and go through all those processes if they don't want to. They just want to get back in life. So it's almost like going in one door and coming out another, that
Hmm.
there's no insight that takes place between lifetimes if they don't want there to be insight. Again, free will.
Right. Which makes complete sense.
Mhm.
Complete sense.
Hmm.
No, for sure. For sure. I think that, when you're thinking about like levels, I mean, do we even exist, lives? Do we live lives simultaneously, dimensionally?
Mhm.
Like it's hard to think level, because I mean we're thinking very much linear, like in this specific
Right.
third density, three-dimensional lifetime. Have you
Yeah.
come across anybody that's kind of been split souls living?
Oh, yeah. Well, there are people who I think are almost like time travelers, interdimensional time travelers in a way.
Right.
And I think it's possible, but I think it's more of a thought process than putting your body in a capsule that at superluminal
Mm,
speeds. I'm not quite sure how it works, but I don't believe that time is linear by its true nature,
Hmm.
as you just said.
right.
But
But they, yeah.
in the third density, we have to have we have to have reference points, so we show up, so we get
Hmm.
stuff done. And I think that's probably also part of the same process why we have temporary amnesia when we're
Hmm.
here, so we can focus and learn and do the tasks that we set out to do.
Hmm.
I think so.
Hmm.
I wonder if we have the ability to, decide on what we want to do in the next life. Do we have the ability to say, nah, I'm
Apparently,
done?
yes.
Oh, I
Apparently,
hope so.
yes. Apparently, that's what the council is all about, where you
Right.
discuss, well, would this be better, or how will I learn this best? If I do that, will it affect somebody else positively? Or, yes, I think that's the whole thing is like a map, like an agreement. And
Yeah.
now sometimes people have asked me to do future progressions, if you will, and that can be done. But I will say one thing about that. I think that there might be several possible timelines
Hmm.
that are all potential timelines,
Right.
and the one that you in your soul decide to activate is the one you will take. But I'm not sure how accurate progressions are, because you can always make another choice. It's all
Right.
about choices. And I don't know if we can really nail down that specific. We can talk about a possible timeline, I
Hmm.
think, but
Right.
it
Hmm.
isn't written in, it's not written in stone.
Right.
I love
Right.
what Sherry's statement, a question. What about people who remember many past lives in detail, including timeline?
Sherry's
Well,
special.
well,
She's very
yes.
gifted.
Yes, we love her.
Yes, we do.
There are people that do. There are people that can simply go into a light meditative state and just request, I want to experience, I want to see one of my lives or three of my lives, and it will just happen. It doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily take someone like me to do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
If you practice some type of meditation,
Hmm.
that will put you in the alpha state, in the same state that I induct people into to
I think
get
that's
this
just trusting
information.
their thoughts, though.
Pardon me?
I think maybe it comes down to trusting your thoughts during that timeline. See,
Oh, you have to
whereas when you're
trust.
Because when you're someone like yourself, you can recognize those things when you're bringing somebody forward
Yeah.
or guiding them. But if someone is on their own and trying to, come out
Yeah.
with that, that's like, well, do I trust that or not? For me, I've always had like crazy visions and dreams where I could even like just feel, like cobblestone on the bottom of my feet,
Mhm.
or I
Mhm.
could smell things. I could, it's just, and to which it went on to be validated. But if I had to try to peg every single thing that came to me, I'd be like, okay,
I
you could
know, I
really go
know.
amok,
There
right?
is a thing as being too, being too
Yeah.
focused on that. But
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I think it should really be much more of a learning experience than a diversion. But there are certainly people who have access and they don't need anybody like me. They
Right.
recognize people that they've known. They see them with their, you know, they see
Hmm.
them as they looked. Now, once in a while, I'm sure, once in a while I have like a kind of a wild flash like that. I'll tell you this, I don't think I told you this before. I probably haven't talked about it to too many people. I was in Edinburgh, an ancient, fabulous, the capital city of Scotland. I
Yes.
had never been to Edinburgh before, oddly, and so I took a little tour, and it's not a very large city. They
It's
have a little
not.
bus tour, and you can go around the whole thing,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
the bus was passing through the area that I believe they call the grass market. It used to be a big open market where all kinds of vegetables and things were sold. And I looked at it and it was as if I was looking at a double exposure because I
That's happened
said,
to
well,
me.
this isn't
Yeah,
right. And
different
I saw it
places.
as it was. And then I saw that there was a large, rather large body of water that just there was a big body of water and just below where the castle is, and then I
Right.
saw a strange piece of machinery. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know whether it was a trebuchet
Wow.
or what the hell it was. Now,
Right.
later on, when I went to the Museum of Scotland a couple hours later, I said, well, sometimes this happens to me, sometimes I see things as they looked, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the what I found out was, of course, like, many medieval towns during the 14th century, they were murdering people suspected of witchcraft.
Hmm.
And this thing, and I saw a drawing of it in the
The
museum, not the
wreck.
thing. It
Yeah.
was well, it looked like a
A
like a
guillotine.
big slingshot, like a trebuchet, but it
Oh.
had a chair, and they would dip the poor woman into the water,
Into the water.
and
Yes.
until
Yes.
essentially until she drowned. And if she drowned, then she wasn't a witch.
That's right.
Cowards.
Yes.
Cowards.
Yes.
And I saw that, and I felt the sadness, and I felt the whole thing, and I saw the people watching, and
Hmm.
I just kind of passed through. Um, I don't know. I was just able to see it as it was. That doesn't always happen. It's one of the few times that's happened to me. But
Hmm.
I saw Edinburgh as it was in the 1400s.
That's insane. Yeah. I've been. It's beautiful. Lots of history, lots of sadness, lots of,
Mhm.
murders and
Oh man,
it's just you
violent
get into the
violence.
Royal Mile, it's just like
Yeah,
even, everything that's happened to the people in there, it's just all very, very sad.
it's incredible.
Um,
And the Edinburgh vaults. I
I've
went
been.
I went down from
Yes.
the
Aren't they
tour.
wild?
That's really something, right? A
Oh
little
my
a little
gosh.
ghost boy took my hand. So
Oh, that's
I call
awesome though. But that's where they were stuffing people. It's
yeah.
terrible, terrible
Irish people
conditions.
mostly Irish immigrants that's were living in
Wow.
the vaults. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very sad. Very sad. Um, Getting back to Dave's comment, Amelia, did you want to get that one?
Oh, I thought I already read. No,
No,
okay.
not this
I
one.
believe it depends on your karma balance. That's how the Egyptians described it too.
And that's going back to thinking about time,
Mhm.
lifetimes
Well,
simultaneously.
Some
I
people would
think
say there's no karma.
I just think it's I
Mm,
think it's a lot more complex probably than we would imagine, because
right.
sometimes people do the incredibly selfless thing of coming into a lifetime to be the bad guy, to teach something. This does happen where good souls make a decision to come in and be, if not a negative influence, propelling influence, you know. So,
Wow.
so karma is, I believe it exists, but I think it's really just the law of balance, like as
Mhm.
the Egyptians, Mot and the feather, right?
That's
So
right. That's right.
I would agree
Yes.
with that. It's a question of balance,
Mhm.
but ultimately, I believe it is a fair universe.
Mhm.
Ultimately, we have to deal with everything, and ultimately, everything is balanced out.
Okay, so let's touch on twin souls versus,
Mm.
let's say, soulmates.
Mhm. Well, I was in doing this work, I was taught by my teacher, Dr. Georgina Cannon, that we have many soulmates. We
Right.
don't just have one. We have
Right.
many. We have passed through time and eternity. We're immortal. We have many soulmates. Now there are people that call themselves twin flames,
Mhm.
and now those people claim to be actually the same spirit, but expressing itself in two bodies. And I say, why not? I mean,
Right. So
okay.
would it be this?
Oh, hi, Mama. Well,
Yeah. Uh,
Dr. Pauline asks, Dr. Michael Newton has stated in his book that a soul can split and live two different lives
Hmm.
is
simultaneously.
that
Hmm. Hmm.
the twin soul
That's
idea?
yes, that's the twin soul idea. So
Okay.
it is kind of a Newtonian thing, and we do accept that in hypnosis, and that is a decision that is
Interesting.
made. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's too complicated for me. I'm having enough trouble with one
No, well,
consciousness.
It's interesting, though.
Yeah,
I
it
would
is
have thought
interesting.
that
Yeah.
you know how you get two people who've been together forever and ever, and
Hmm.
one will pass away and the other will pass away anywhere from days later to
Oh
a month
yeah.
later.
Hmm.
Soulmates or the twin soul thing again? Which how would you
Well,
categorize that one?
I think it's probably so personal, it would be impossible to tell for us on the
Right,
outside. You
right.
know, it sometimes when people have these long lives together, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're soulmates, but they may be part of the family group, you know, and
Mhm,
maybe they were brother and sister in a past life who also were long lived together. So that's a
mhm,
type of a soulmate. So, you know, whether they were soulmates or twin souls, it's very hard
mhm.
to say, but it certainly happens an awful lot with you know, with older folks who have been together for many years. One goes and the other doesn't want to be
Right,
without them.
right.
So
I could see that. And
mhm.
Sean actually has 2 messages, so why don't we just start with the first one? There we go.
Hypnotherapy, past life regression is amazing. I'm writing a book about my clients and their cool past lives.
And then next is this
Here,
one.
I don't believe a soul can split.
That's an
Well,
interesting
maybe you haven't come
perception.
Well,
across it yet.
Yeah,
and
possible.
I'm just gonna put something out here that is a little bit from our last discussion where I talked
Yeah,
about the regression work that I do with people who have had ET contact and such.
right.
And I'm just going to mention we talked very briefly about perhaps some of the more horrible programs that have gone on with
Yeah,
military
because that's the next show.
collaborations. Oh yeah, that's the next show. We talked about that a little bit,
We did. We went into
but
the yes.
one of the things that and many of these poor people who have been involved, these many have been subjected to a kind of a torturous thing where their psyche is actually split in such a
Mm,
way that they create a kind of a synthetic schizophrenia. And the idea of for this horrible research, this horrible process, was that one of these beings, you know, the one that they split off, would be able to be controlled by the military and do nefarious things.
so military abductions.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
whole
So
other
this is the
show.
black ops thing.
Yeah.
So there are. I think there could be in answer to this question. I think that there could be perversions
Mm.
where the psyche can be split. And does that mean that the soul is split? I'm not sure. I don't have the answers, but it's quite a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I already have a whole slew of questions for that, but for the
All
next
right.
time around, because I know, because I can already just jump out with that since we're like talking spirits and essences and things like that. But that would be
Yes.
getting into something really a little bit deeper.
Oh, it's out
Um,
there. Yeah, we got to put on our tinfoil chapeaus for that one.
oh, we
I have
can.
a, I have a, I have a tinfoil toque. I'll get it out.
Yeah.
I'll get it out.
Yes.
Just
For our friends in America, that's a beanie.
yes,
But
yes. Sorry.
I didn't know what a beanie was when I started crocheting, and I'm like,
You're like,
oh, it's a toque.
what's a beanie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
wear like one of
Simone
those
too.
Jiffy Pop things.
Yeah.
I'll take the popcorn
That's
first.
the
You can have
perfect
it.
thing. You
Yeah.
pop up the Jiffy. Do they still have Jiffy Pop? I hope
Yes.
they
Do
do.
they?
Yes,
There
they
you go.
do.
And
Yes, they do.
Let's do it on the
a
next show.
great sort of a 1960s kind of
That
thing
was
there?
that was the kind of popcorn as Canadians. I don't know about our American friends that we took like on the campfire when we went to the
Oh, yeah.
cottage or to the
Sure.
beach, and
That's all we had.
yeah.
There was no microwave popcorn when I was a
Well,
kid.
No.
nobody had a microwave. They were like, well, were they like $3,000?
Oh yeah,
Oh
they
my
weighed like
gosh.
3,000 pounds.
Yes.
And they had a
And
little
they-
screen like that
Yeah,
big, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. You were
It'll
scared
make
to
the
stand near it. You're like,
It'll make the perfect tinfoil hat, though. Just wear
It
it right
will.
over your
It'll
toothbrush
that
in
is
the
a great
summer.
idea.
yeah. It's still on the shelf. I died
Yeah.
when I saw it. I'm like, wow.
Oh, if we all show up
I'm
with
old
one of those, I
school.
think our listeners will just fall over.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I'm old
Remember
school.
how
I
you
still
really
do
had to get it
popcorn on the
going so
stove.
it didn't burn? You really had to get that Jiffy Pop. You
Pull
really
your
had to
shoulder out.
shake that junk in your
It's like
trunk to
working
get
out
that
with
thing
one
going.
arm because you're
It
I
just
is.
like, oh my gosh. You have one
I
big
used to
muscular
I
arm
used to
and one
do
little
2 at
tiny arm.
once, ladies. I used to swing 2
You
Jiffy
have
Pop
to if you have a
at one
family. It's not
time,
like you got
you
that
know.
much out of there. It was only a small ball.
Oh my
It wasn't
word.
that much. I'm old school. I still go on the stove. I still do that.
Okay, so that's a big shout out here for Jiffy Pop.
Yeah.
Real
So if you're
sponsor
listening,
ID.
Jiffy, we're
We need to
always
do a
taking
real
money.
sponsor
Now there's
ID.
gonna be a run on Jiffy Pop. Every mom and pop store in Toronto is gonna be
Oh
out of
yeah.
Jiffy
Not
Pop.
in this
Wait for
weather.
it.
Not
Yeah.
in this weather.
Yeah,
You'll have to
not
play
tonight.
it on the archive. Maybe
True
on the
enough.
archive you guys will get that craving, but wait until the show ends before you
Okay.
leave to get that popcorn. Um, you are listening to the Outer Realm live right now with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano, and right back with us is our dear friend and our guest, Lesley Mitchell-Clarke, coming straight to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
That's
I
right,
can't
eh?
breathe. My birthplace, and we
Hey,
don't use that word. Just
We do
saying.
not. That is like we are not the Mackenzie brothers. We don't say that all the time.
we don't live in igloos.
No,
No, it's
my
very.
Irish grandparents said it. That's why I do say "a," but
It's
it's
an
because
Irish thing.
I was raised by my grandparents, and they said it
Yes,
all the time. So
yes, and
Hey,
that
yeah.
was spelled A-Y-E, not like
yes,
E-H. Like
not
anyway.
EH.
Yes.
A-E-H, yes.
I don't
Yes.
even use that word. But
No.
anyways,
Right.
we're coming to you live from the gorgeous city of New Orleans on 105.3 FM radio, and we are streaming right now on United Public Radio, United UFO Paranormal Radio. We are on all of the Facebook
Networks.
pages, including Canada's Most Haunted and the Outer
Outer
Realm,
Realm.
our own page.
Yes.
I'm like, there are too many to list. If you are listening right now, you're probably tuned into, and I hope, YouTube. And if you're there, please click like and subscribe. No notifications will be driving you crazy unless you choose that way. We would like to give a shout out. Now I'm lost, which is not difficult to do for me. We would like to give a quick shout out and a thank you to our intro and outro composer and award-winning musician and voice. My gosh, thank you so much, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker. You can find his music at Amazon and Bandcamp, and you can find him on social media, on Instagram and Facebook as well. And we'd like to say a big thank you to these guys right here, Folgers
Folgers,
Coffee.
absolutely.
Oh,
It's a great way to start. You've been with us from the beginning, and we hope forevermore. We're so grateful to you, Folgers. Without you, we wouldn't be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folgers
Thank you. Thank
Heavenly
you.
Thank you.
Coffee, remember that? Folgers
It's
makes
true.
heavenly coffee.
This is true.
Remember
This
that?
is true.
Folgers
Yeah, the
makes
best part of
heavenly
waking
coffee.
up. Yeah,
See,
see,
I
there
love
you
that.
go.
There you go.
Can our guest jump in on it? That's outstanding.
I'll harmonize next show. But
That's
yeah,
right.
and we love Folgers. Without them, honestly, we wouldn't be here.
Aw.
Okay,
Oh,
other question. There we go.
Bubbles, fantastic. And we got everybody in the chat rooms calling me that now.
I am sorry.
No,
You're
it's okay.
I
It's
like to
okay.
say you're welcome.
It's all a
but
good. It's all good. It's not a bad name.
No.
Sherry says, Lesley, with clearing attachments, have you ever had problems with them trying to attach to you?
I really protect myself. Before I'm going to do any kind of process like that, I myself am in meditation. I have myself surrounded with white light. Um, I have never, I think everyone, if they're going to do any kind of work like that, if you just take the basic precautions of protection, you will be fine. And I also, whenever I can, I love to do spirit investigations whenever it's possible. Whenever somebody will let me join them, I go along,
Wow.
I go with, and I have done a lot of entity release in that milieu, sort of transpersonal psychology, talking people over to the other side. I have never had, I have never had any. Knock on wood, inkling of any kind of oppression or attachment. But I think if one just uses the basic cleansing,
Mhm.
protocols that are available, I'm sure Michelle can tell you what to do, and Amelia can tell you what to do if you need to. But just use precautions, and there shouldn't be any problems with attachments.
Aw, Lisa Savoy says, Lesley
Oh,
is the greatest. I had 7 regressions done with
oh
her. Oh,
man.
you're so lucky.
What
Right,
a
Michelle? You're so
sweetheart
lucky,
she
Lisa.
is. Oh my
Yeah.
good and
Yeah, she's been here all the show.
wait till you read her new book. Oh my goodness. It's really
Oh.
wonderful. Yeah, she has a brand new book that she's just published, and it's about her really unique, really fantastic experience. I don't mean fantastic as an unbelievable.
Well, she should
I
reach
mean
out.
amazing experiences.
Yeah,
Okay, do
Yes.
you
she
do
should reach out.
regressions
We can bring
on
you guys both
online?
on together.
Yes, I absolutely
Okay.
do. I absolutely do regressions online. During the COVID, I just had to get comfortable with it.
Right.
Okay, because Michelle Million says, I sure wish she was near me. Well, there you
I
go.
There we go.
I
Right.
do work. I absolutely do work remotely, and I can
There
tell
you
you it
go, Michelle.
works. And all you need to do is drop me a line, and we can make a plan.
There we go. There we go. See, anything can happen here in the outer realms.
Anything.
Anything. Exactly. Bam. Just like that. If we can go back to the whole when we move and cross over or wherever it is
Mhm,
that we go,
mhm,
when we go through this counseling thing, is this like a detoxification sort of thing, purging ourselves from this
mm,
specific life and preparing for the next? Or because if that's the case and we're bringing in all of this pain and these
mhm,
this darkness with us through some of this lives, like I understand why we're not really meant to remember them all. Like if you just think about how many losses you've suffered, just grieving
mhm,
alone would be
mhm.
difficult. Leaving, I mean, as it is, some of us have that sense of leaving someone behind, and that sense of longing. But what exactly does the whole counseling thing do if you're still sitting here fixing some problems from other lifetimes?
Okay. Well, I think that a big part of the answer to that question is I think that from what I have heard, what I've come to understand, this realm, this higher vibrational realm that we ascend to, um, negative emotions just don't exist there.
Right.
So there is no grief, there is no longing. There is intellectual awareness or
Mm-hmm.
consciousness of what has happened. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say that the whole council idea is much more removed emotionally than you would probably think. You know,
Wow.
it's almost more of an analytical process. Like if you do this, then maybe this will happen, or if you did this, this will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say that people in the interlife, one of the things that they find so astounding is that they are able to look at things that had pain attached and then
Mm-hmm.
just sort of understand them without re-experiencing the pain.
Right.
Yeah, and that's from what I have heard, that's what it's like. That's why it's not fearful. Nobody criticizes you,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't re-experience pain, but you do have an awareness of your actions and
Mm-hmm.
how they could have been involved and how they can improve. And one thing I think I might have mentioned this last time I was on. One thing that's very interesting about these councils is that they are not necessarily only human beings that are on them. Okay.
Oh.
In our interlife
Mm-hmm.
realm, it would seem that we are in a soul group with many beings that are very similar to us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not exactly Homo sapiens sapiens. Maybe there are slight variations, bigger skulls, maybe, but not the Greys. The Greys haven't been seen there, but beings that are like us
From other
essentially
worlds, other
from other
planets. So,
worlds.
so our
And
other lives don't necessarily mean here on planet Earth.
that's very true. And of course,
Oh,
with the,
okay.
the kind of work that I do with experiencers, if I am privileged to be able to do a past life regression with them or an interlife regression, it's almost invariable that I find that they have lived other lifetimes and often on
Mm-hmm.
on the same planet where the beings that engage with them today are from. Did that
Right.
make sense? It was
No,
a complicated
absolutely.
sentence, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So, boy, so there's something
No.
familiar. So you wonder, there's been an agreement in the interlife. Say these star seeds, these remarkable people,
Mm-hmm.
lived on this evolved planet and made a decision to come here,
Mm-hmm.
to their younger brothers, less evolved planet to help bring about disclosure or help heal the world or help
Mm-hmm.
advance the science or whatever it was. We have an awful lot of
Mm-hmm.
these star seeds, these special people who have chosen to be here to
Mm-hmm.
help us. And there is no reason for fear. I just want to say fear is the killer. I'm no fan of David Icke and all of his reptilian fears and fear mongering,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really not that. There are aspects of that, but that's not the big reality.
Right. Lisa, just plug. Here we go. We're going to give you a little shout out, Lisa. The title of her
The
book.
title of my book is Living in Two Worlds, A True Account of Alien Encounters, available on Amazon. Amazon owes us some money.
That's
They
right.
owe everybody. They
Amazon.
owe me like 39 cents, I think, for the past 5 years. I think
Yeah.
that's about all I'm getting. 39 cents.
Oh no. Oh
Canadian.
no. So that's like what? A nickel?
That's 19 cents to you.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Yeah, definitely reach out to us, Lisa, at the outer realm contact at gmail.com. We'd love to hear it. I'm sure our listeners would love to hear it also. Maybe you can come on with Lesley. Just do a whole other thing.
Oh wow.
Right?
She has a remarkable story that is
Yeah.
unique and
Yeah.
actually very positive too.
Well,
It's a
I like
uplifting
that.
story. Hmm.
It might be kind of interesting, just to kind of hear everything she's going through. And then you can always be here to coach her through as to what
Sure.
your part in her journey was. You guys can agree on see what you like to do. We'll put something together. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That sounds
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, well, you're coming back on anyway. I think we've got you back in June. So
Fabulous.
Yeah,
for this
'cause I
kind of
just
talk,
wrote that
actually.
down.
So
Yep.
Fabulous.
no, I think it's fabulous. Do you think people, fearing death? Should you fear death?
No. Not at all. You're going
No.
home. We're wearing the meat
Right.
suit here, kids. This is the cruel school. This is the dense reality. This is the tough part. We're
Right.
here to help others. We're here. We are, all of us are,
Mm-hmm.
we're midwives of disclosure. We're all here as
Mm-hmm.
healers. And there's a lot of
Right.
us here, and there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Big things are going to happen, I believe, in our lifetimes.
Yes. I I sure hope so. Not like
Yeah,
the
I
big thing
think
we're going
so.
through now, because that doesn't feel very
No.
positive to me.
No, but
So come
it
on.
takes more than, it
Yeah.
takes more than the Black Plague to kick our ass. It takes more than,
Yes.
we can get through this. We can get through this. And
It's almost over.
one way or another, everybody will be immune, whether they'll have it and they'll be immune. One way or
Hmm.
another, we're going to pass
It's
through
gonna
this.
happen.
Yeah, it
Right.
is. It
Yeah.
already is. I mean, here in Toronto, oh my goodness, the joy, the pubs are open, the music venues. We need the
Right.
arts for our
You
souls.
do. You do.
And
Oh, the
it's
whole
nice
of
to,
downtown is art.
oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. And it's nice to stream stuff, but there is
Hmm.
nothing like seeing live performance
Hmm.
and getting out
Right.
and supporting your local restaurants and stuff like that. So we're
That's
coming back.
really important.
So
Hmm.
do you think this
Supporting
is?
them in more than just takeout.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't. I don't. I like takeout personally. I'm a
Yeah.
homebody though.
No,
So
I mean for downtown Toronto, they've suffered
right.
a
No.
great deal
Yeah. We're a social
because
bunch.
Yeah.
because
Oh,
of the
yeah.
theater district, right? With the
Yeah,
theater
Oh,
I used to have
district having
theater
a
everything.
home.
membership for years, so yeah, for
Everything, the
sure.
Yeah,
theaters,
I'm
the gyms,
just
everything. It's been
you're
so
seeing
tough.
you're seeing
Mhm.
restaurants that have been open for 50 years
I
shut
know.
down. And I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
thank God they're at retirement stage because it breaks my heart to see the old ones go, right?
Oh man, and
So
so many family-owned restaurants, 3 generations gone,
Mm.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but,
Mm.
we're making it through. It's gonna be okay, and in Canada, we've done pretty well, and I know there are certain
Mm.
states that have done really well in the US,
Mhm.
and I just hope we all get through it. I don't want anyone to suffer. I don't care who they are. I don't
Mm.
want anyone to get sick, you
Is
know?
this do you I mean, is this the sort of thing that should make people evolve in a way, awaken?
Oh, I almost think that this was part of our evolutionary process right now, that we had to
Right.
do a kind of a stop and reset in a
Right.
section. And it all seemed to be just something that had to happen. And
Mhm.
I think people have had incredible experiences
Mhm.
during this time, all kinds of awareness, and people have decided to go into new careers. They've,
Mhm.
it's been quite a time. We can reframe this as a positive thing.
Mhm.
But I hope that it made people understand that they can survive with less noise, you know,
Mm.
just
Mm,
just
I
less
think it
chaos, less
gives the
noise.
planet a time to, regenerate and
I agree.
people to reconnect. I think it's important before passing. Not everybody has the opportunity to know when their time is up. And I know that Wayne is in the chat room tonight, but his mother was very, let's just say she was a little tumultuous. She's
Hmm.
very, she's not a happy camper for most
Hmm.
of her life. But when they believe she actually died, like he watched her just take her last breath and he's like, okay, this is it.
Yeah,
And she's back. He's like, what the hell,
she was
right?
fighting. Yeah.
But yeah, but she just completely went down and then came back, and then all of a sudden she's okay, but came back a different person.
Hmm.
And basically, well, it's almost like she got this little glimpse, like trying to take the baggage with her because she kept talking about, well, I'm just waiting for the train, you
Hmm.
know,
Oh,
and he's saying
yeah,
you can't take all that baggage with you. And I
yeah.
think maybe she was trying to get on with the baggage sort of thing, all the hangups. And they're basically saying, no, you need to go work your stuff out. But she lived another 6 to 8 months,
Hmm.
wow.
rectified everything with everyone, and
Hmm.
died happily in her sleep after that.
Isn't that something?
That's a good thing for
Isn't that
her.
that's that's
Right?
amazing that she had that
Yeah.
realization and the ability to to take care of business, which was as
Yes.
much for the people around her as it was for her.
Well, yeah,
That
because technically, can other people bring you back? Because, for example, her whole family could have looked at her and had such horrific memories that we're going to come back and do this again because we never resolved anything the first time. Can
sure.
they be responsible for bringing you back
Well, they do you mean pulling you back into physical life? Do you mean in
into
that
another?
sense?
Well, no, into
Oh, into
doing it
another.
all over
Well,
again.
I
Yeah,
think it has to be. I think there has to be some agreement between the parties. Like I told you with my brother and my
yeah,
sister, who were pushing me to do it and come back in. So
right.
I think it there has to be some kind of consensus, but certainly I think everyone desires to clean up and fix things when they're in the interlife. They and the fastest way to do that is to come back into physical life. You can
Mm.
still evolve and do this and that and have relationships and do all your things in the spiritual realms, but you don't learn as quickly.
See,
It's
Bubbles, we could
not.
do a show in the spiritual realm.
I
Yeah,
know.
We don't have to. It doesn't have to be so hard.
that's right.
I
That's right.
it goes to near death experiences as well, right? Because I know with a friend of mine, her mom, she brought the priest in for last rites twice before she died and a year
Hmm.
before she died. And I
Ah,
was just amazed by that, and it just it surprises me every time. But having had near death experiences, in a way, it doesn't surprise me because my mom was the one who said, back you go,
Hmm.
so
mm,
It's possible to have a choice sometimes whether you're going to leave or go. What I've heard about many near death experiences is where people
mm,
are offered the choice. It's your
mm-hmm.
choice. You can go back, you can stay. It's up to you. Or
yeah,
sometimes they will say it's not your time yet, and whoosh, you're just back
That's
through
it.
the. You don't have any choice in the matter. I did have a near death experience as a very little child, and I had pneumonia, and in those days there
Mm-hmm.
weren't any fancy antibiotics like now, no designer antibiotics. It was a very serious business, and kids died from pneumonia all the time.
yeah.
And
Right.
I remember being in an oxygen tent. There was nobody watching me, but I remember slipping out of my head, like
Oh.
coming right out of the top of my head. And then I heard I didn't go down a tunnel, none of that. I was floating in the room, and I heard a voice that just said, "No, it's not time yet. You have to go back in." And I
Mm.
didn't want to. And then I went in again. I went in through the top of my head. So
Wow.
I didn't get that far. I'm not sure if that was a near-death experience or not, but it certainly seems like
It sure seems like
I was
one.
astral
Yeah.
projecting. I was out. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sherry
Oh,
asks
hey, Brian.
a great question. How do you see past lives that committed suicide?
Oh,
oh my goodness.
mm.
Wow, this is
It's
a
a good
tough one.
question.
Yeah, well, there is no, condemnation. There is no,
Mm.
like I was raised Catholic, nothing
Yes.
like
Thank you for
that.
that. I say the
Nothing like
same.
that
Yeah.
occurs at all.
Right.
Now, what I understand, and a really good source for this subject, there's a lovely lady named Eliza Medhouse, Dr. Medhouse,
Right.
and her son Eric was suffered from mental illness and took his own life.
Mm.
And there are several books that she's written about his journey because he began communicating with her almost immediately after he
Wow.
passed. And now has a very big presence, on the internet. And Eric brings in, like, she works with some of the foremost mediums, around,
Hmm.
and Eric actually brings in people to talk through the medium. So it's kind of
Oh,
like
so he's a
the
guide.
it's kind of
Like a
like the
guide.
Eric show. Yeah, he's a guide,
The
but
Eric
to
show.
talk,
Right on.
it's kind of the Eric show, and
Right.
it's absolutely remarkable. But in the lifetimes where people have committed suicide, and I haven't, of course, there have been a few lifetimes where people have recounted that. It's just sad. It's
Mm.
not. recrimination really. It's just I just didn't understand. It just
Right.
didn't need to happen. I didn't need to make this decision. So it's and I haven't encountered any kind of experiences where someone was, say, experienced a euthanasia, as an older person. But
Right.
I'm sure that's just a smooth transition. But
Mhm.
no, there's no punishment. There's only compassion. And there is
Mhm.
sometimes healing. And remember, because you're not in your physical body, mental health issues are gone.
That's right.
This poor
Yeah.
kid
Mm.
suffered with the deepest depression, untreatable depression, and
Right.
so all of that is gone. It's
Yeah.
just like they have a healing, and
Mhm.
there's great compassion for the fact that the way they were living was torturous. They just couldn't take it, couldn't or
Yeah.
wouldn't,
Had
and
to
there's
end the pain.
had to end the
Mhm.
pain. And boy, there was an awful lot. When my kids are growing up in the teen years, they lost several friends,
Mhm.
It's
and it
sad.
was just
Mhm.
horrible. But we have a crisis of teen suicide in our
Mm.
contemporary society. We are at
Oh, right now it's really
we are
bad.
at crisis levels.
Yeah.
So we need to get to these kids and get them to talk up and make them understand that everything does get better, that it
Yeah. And
can get better, that the
Mhm.
teenage part is the worst part.
they have to live through it with social media. We didn't.
I
I can
know.
only
Can you
imagine
imagine?
how much
Oh,
worse it is now,
Mm.
what
you
the
know?
Mean Girls would have done
Yeah.
in those days. I mean, it's a terrible amount of pressure these kids carry.
Yeah.
I don't know
Mhm.
how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
I think
Mhm.
as a parent, you really have to step up.
Yeah.
I know people used to say that I was like this helicopter mom. I'm actually really proud of that. Um,
Mhm.
and I would sit and be with my daughter when she was online. I think you have to teach them there's an etiquette and teach them not to be,
That's what a
because it's not
responsible
just
parent
about,
does.
yeah, it's not just about teaching your child how to navigate these crazy social media is the toilet bowl of the internet
Mm.
waters, but
Mhm.
also to how to be a good person.
Yeah.
Because the moms at home that think, no, not my child, your child's probably the one doing the bullying, so you should really peek
Oh, yeah.
and take a look, because
Mhm.
you are responsible for that. You are, you have to hold yourself accountable and your child accountable with that kind of behavior, because that kind of behavior is causing children, other people's children, to take
Mhm.
their own lives.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Nobody commits suicide for attention. They commit suicide to end the pain. Once
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
understand that, you can do better.
I
Yeah.
Um,
agree.
Brian
Brian, our
Baker.
buddy Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian. I'm not sure if you touched on interlife,
We
yes,
have.
or Bardo, but I'm fascinated by the idea that
Yeah.
in between period, when you dive into your past life regression, how common is it?
I'm not sure I understand his question. Let me put my glasses. Let me read it here.
Okay.
He's fascinated by the
Yeah,
idea
because we did
that
touch on
in
We
interlife a
between
did
bit.
touch on
period,
interlife.
when you
Yeah.
dive in, how common is it to go to the interlife when you're just doing regular
Yes.
regression? Is that what he means? Um, no, we don't go to the interlife when we're doing past life regressions. We go. Let's see. The way it works is first. I get somebody very relaxed and I go through a deep relaxation process with them. Hopefully, I get them into the theta state. It's not really necessary, but it's good if you can. The alpha state is fine.
Mm.
And then to get the idea of oiling up the memory, if you will, then I move the person around in their own life and
Mm.
have them visit only happy experiences, like and then eventually I get them down and they're remembering things they never thought they could remember, so now they're getting confidence that it will
Mm.
work, right? Because suddenly I say, they're 5 years old. I say, "What color is your dress?" And they're seeing their dress and it's yellow and they can tell me. So this is mind blowing to many people, even at that phase. So we go down and down and down. And then eventually we go into before the birth experience. And then we just go into, I take them into a kind of a, well, more like a bardo. I will often create an environment, an imaginary environment, perhaps a hallway with a lot of doors, and the door that and behind every door is a past life, and the door that you need to open to look at will light up or something like that. All right,
Mm-hmm.
they're all different things that I do in that regard. And then when someone and then I will take and then I will that person will arrive in their past life, the one that has bubbled up that they need to hear about. I take them through it, and I take them through the death experience too. And although we don't go to the council, I do ask them, what they learned and what they valued most. So it's quite in depth in the past life regression. So although we don't go through that council thing, we do all that kind of work. And then if I ask the individual if there are other lifetimes that need to be explored, and if the individual says yes, then we go back into the blue mist or the Bardo zone, and then pop into another life, pop in
Mm,
like that.
right.
So that's kind of how it works. It's amazing what a natural process it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the only people that have trouble, getting into the experience are the people that aren't trusting themselves and what they're seeing and what they're saying. Because in the beginning of a regression, sometimes it feels a little bit like your imagination, but that's
Mm-hmm.
only because the centers of the brain are close to that place.
Mm-hmm.
We're really seeing activity in the amygdala, the really deep memory centers of the brain. They know this from conducting MRIs, or probably more likely EEGs, when people are in the regression process. So the memories are firing, and some people are very quick processors, I would call them. In other
Mm.
words, I'll ask them one question: look down at your feet. What do you see on your feet? Oh, I'm wearing boots, and then I have some short pants here, and hey, I'm a man, and I got a rifle, and I got. Now, some people are like that, and some people I will ask them questions, then I'll have to wait. Like, there will be a big, like, 5-second long thing where they're processing, and finally they'll talk to me about it. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I think that's one of the big reasons why, if people are quick processors, as I mentioned earlier, I can usually cover about 3 lifetimes. But if someone
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
is a slow processor, just the whole thing takes a lot of patience, and it's a lot longer.
Okay, Michelle Millions asks, is a recurring dream a sign of a past life?
Oh, it sure can be.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely can be.
Mm-hmm.
I've had them. I know there's snippets of scenes from past lives, especially if I've been working a lot in that area. My own
Mm-hmm.
memory gets kind of stirred up, I think, in a way. But absolutely, in fact, as I said when we first started talking, that's a very good indication of where we should go to explore past life. If you have a specific dream or sense about a time period or event or country.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow. Well, thank you. Honestly, we're already at the
Is
almost
that
at the
it?
11. I know. I know.
That's
Is
why you're
that
coming
all
back.
there
That's why you're gonna.
is?
I know, but that's why you
Is
just
that
get to
all
keep
there
coming back.
is?
I
Oh my
know.
gosh. I have a
I
quick
know.
question for you, Lesley. Do you like
Yes.
show theme songs?
Uh-oh.
I adore show
Oh
theme
no.
songs. I my whole career as an actor was all about musical theater, most of it. Oh, you
Oh,
better
there we
believe it.
go.
Oh,
There we
yes,
go.
yes, yes.
We're going to
Oh
Uh-oh.
boy.
bombard Michelle with the show
Oh
Uh-oh.
theme
Oh,
songs.
boy.
poor
There isn't
I'm
one
Michelle.
in
I don't
trouble.
know
Poor
I'm in
before the four
Michelle.
trouble.
notes.
Oh,
I'm in
no.
trouble.
Oh, no.
I
Listen,
got
I
it
I've
with
been in
know.
her sister too.
Here we
I've
go.
been in some terrible shows too. I've been in some real stinkers. I was in a show,
Everybody
a
has.
musical version of Falstaff, and it was called Thud. And this show
Oh,
was so bad that whenever the curtain opened for the second act, there was no one in the theater.
Oh my word.
Oh wow.
Yikes, that's not good.
I've
That
seen a
would
lot
not
of
be
Anyway.
good.
theater. My brother-in-law's an actor. I've seen a lot of theater, but I have to say my favorite, absolute favorite was Fiddler on the Roof. I can't get enough of that one.
Oh, I
Chicken
played all
wings.
three
Aw.
daughters on the road. I
Did
played all
you?
three daughters
I
one
was
time
so
or another.
impressed by
Carol
his
Yeah.
Burnett.
ability to hold that
Oh,
wine
Carol.
bottle on his head.
Ugh,
Wayne Mallow says, "I'm so glad we had this time together."
Carol
Aw.
Burnett.
Whoa,
Thanks a
I'll do
lot.
that.
Yeah. It's like,
Thank you, Tina.
Oh, that's funny.
But
Oh,
we
well,
are
ladies,
at the
I just
end.
have to
Yes.
thank you both for welcoming me, and it was such
Oh,
no,
a
our
thank
joy to talk
you.
to you,
pleasure.
and I hope that, I think your listeners are wonderful. They had such
Thank
marvelous
you.
questions. What smart
We have
people they are
great
out there.
listeners. We have
We
great
do.
Wow.
We have a
listeners.
great listenership
Yes.
and we've got great people in the chat room. They're
Yes.
just
Wonderful.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Wonderful.
you so much.
So thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, they can do so just by emailing me at Lesley, Lesley, at lightworkhypnosis.com. And my recent book is called Intersections, True Story of Extraterrestrial Contact, and that is also on Amazon. I'll get my 39
Fantastic.
cents eventually.
Yes. And and Lisa, you can always get the show email from Lesley because I emailed you on
Yes,
it today with the link.
I have
Otherwise, I
it.
will be repeating it in a few minutes as well. So I will be in touch with you also, Lesley, and thank you
Wonderful.
for joining us this evening.
Thank you,
So
my dear. Both you
Thank
thank
guys
you.
you.
both take care. Happy New
Thank
Year,
you.
and I will see you soon.
All
Okay,
Stay
right,
lots of
safe.
darling.
love.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Absolutely. Bye-bye now.
Night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, isn't she just a breath of fresh air? Oh, God, I
Yes.
just love having her on. I'm so glad she's coming back. But we are at the end of another awesome segment of the Outer Realms. A big thank you to Lesley Mitchell-Clarke. She's just simply amazing and just a joy to have on. Thank you to everybody in chat. You guys are just awesome as always. We always love to include you all into the program because you make it that much more fun. And thank you, Folgers. Thank you, Folgers. We love you. We really appreciate you more than you know. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for our intro and outro. Now, please remember to not only go to our YouTube channels, go to UFO Paranormal Radio, which is the station's main channel. Do not just subscribe, but become a member because that is where you're going to get all of this extra content that's coming. See, I know what's coming. So, the Outer Realm, of course, some of the older segments are going to make their way to that membership also, but the Gray Zone Uncensored can only be found as a membership. You will not find it any other way. And all of the hosts are going to be doing something different that could only be seen if you have a membership. So please head on over to UFO Paranormal on YouTube and become a member. There's different levels. It's a lot of fun. Also, don't forget about little old us at Facebook. Give us a like. We appreciate it. And to contact us, the only place we're going to give you a response because social media, there's just too many messages. I can't keep track. So please just go to the outer realm contact at gmail.com. Again, that is the outer realm contact at gmail.com. Now, tomorrow night is another show you're not going to want to miss. For the very first time, we have a singer and a esoteric, just I guess I don't know how to put it. He's just full of knowledge. And he's just going to be giving us all sorts of different things to think about. And his name is, he goes by Truth Seeker. I love it. I love it. So until then, guys, please, if you're in the storm tonight, stay safe. And we'll see you here tomorrow evening. Thank you. Good night.
have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.